How y'all doing today? It's your boy Eat Right Guy, and I'm back with another video. And for this video, I want to talk about licensing in the field of dietetics. And I feel like this video was long overdue. I don't think anybody has made a video about this on YouTube that's a dietitian. And I think because this topic is actually pretty confusing when you look into it. And so I just want to discuss how it is in the United States. I'm not sure how it is in other countries when it comes to licensing and their governing bodies for dietetics, but here in the United States, I'm gonna talk about how the different states are categorized and how they're regulated in terms of who can perform medical nutrition therapy and who can consider themselves dietitians and nutritionists. So like for instance, Louisiana, our licensing board is probably in the strictest category. So in Louisiana, in order for you to consider yourself a dietitian, registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, licensed nutritionist, you have to be licensed in the state of Louisiana. And also, if you want to practice medical nutrition therapy, that is exclusively to licensed dietitians. And in order to become licensed in Louisiana, you must be a registered dietitian. So what you do is you pass your RD exam, you pay for your registration as a dietitian, and then separately you apply for a Louisiana license. But it's different. So for instance, a state like Texas, the practice of performing medical nutrition therapy is not exclusive to dietitians. So legally, anybody can practice medical nutrition therapy, but they do have exclusivity of titles. So in Texas, you have to have a license in order to consider yourself a registered dietitian or a dietitian. And they have some states that they don't have any kind of governing body for licensure, and there's no regulations on titles in which you can consider yourself. So there's some states to where you can call yourself a registered dietitian when you're not a dietitian. And then there's in these states, there's no exclusivity for practice of medical nutrition therapy. So it's kind of like a free-for-all in those states. And so I'm gonna take you to my computer, I'm gonna pull up the chart, and I'm gonna explain it a little bit further. Hopefully this will help y'all understand licensure. So let's go on to my computer.
All right, so now I'm on the Academy's website, and I'm on this page, licensure, statutes, and information by state. And I will leave a link to this page in the description so y'all can have a better look at it. So the first thing I want to show y'all is the legend. And so these are the 4 different types of regulations of the states. You have the states that are in gray, which have no licensure of practice or title. You have the red states, which is practice exclusivity, and these are the red is the most regulated states. Then you have green, the states that the licensure of title only or certification of RDNs is protected. And then you have the yellow, which is the title protection without formal state regulation. And so let's go to each one. I'm gonna start with the red states because these are the states, like I said, are the most regulated. So let's go with Louisiana. As you can see, practice exclusivity, yes. Titles protected, dietitian spelled with a C, and nutritionist. So in Louisiana, you cannot call yourself a dietitian or nutritionist without being licensed. And then like when you go to different states, they have different titles that are protected. Like in the state of Alabama, dietitian, nutritionist is protected, registered dietitian, and these different LD, LDNs. Georgia, dietitian, LD, licensed dietitian. But nutritionist isn't protected. But in order to practice medical nutrition therapy, you have to be registered and licensed. All right, and so now let's go to Texas, which is a green state. And so in Texas, practice exclusivity, no. So anybody can legally practice medical nutrition therapy in Texas, but the titles of licensed dietitian, registered dietitian are protected by the license. So you cannot call yourself a licensed dietitian or registered dietitian without being licensed in a state. of Texas. We can go to Oklahoma. Practice exclusivity, no, but the title of licensed dietitian, registered dietitian is protected by the licensing board. So now we can go to the yellow states. We can go to California, which are very similar to the green states, where there's no practice exclusivity. There are titles that are protected. So dietitian, so in California, you cannot call yourself a dietitian spelled with a C, registered dietitian or whatever, but there's no regulation. So even if you were somebody that wasn't a registered dietitian, if you called yourself a registered dietitian even though you weren't, there's no governing body to really do anything about it. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with Colorado. There's no regulation, even though these titles are protected, which is pretty confusing. How I don't really understand how the titles can be protected, but then there's no regulatory body actually enforcing it. But that's how it is. Same thing with Virginia. And then we can go to these gray states such as New Jersey, where there's no practice exclusivity, there's no titles protected, there's no statute, there's no regulation. So in these states, Michigan, Arizona, anybody can call themselves a registered dietitian, anybody can call themselves a nutritionist, anybody can practice medical nutrition therapy without being registered. And there's no regulations, no governing bodies that's gonna enforce anything. So, but with that being said, let's say you live in Arizona. If you look for jobs as a registered dietitian in Arizona, even though you technically can work these jobs without being a registered dietitian, they're going to want you to do that. That's going to be, when you look at the minimum requirements for these jobs, they're going to want you to have that bachelor's degree from an accredited university, complete your dietetic internship, and actually be registered with CDR. So you just can't get a job even in these gray states or even these yellow states as a registered dietitian without being registered. But it's just saying that if you wanted to open up your own private practice, or you want to write your own menus or work with, different people with chronic diseases, you're not going to get in trouble if you practice medical nutrition therapy. So hopefully this video was informative. If y'all have any questions, leave them down below.
And if you're a nutrition student or a dietetic intern and you're concerned about passing the RD exam, feel free to join my Facebook group, RD Exam Prep, which will be down in the description. And this is where you can be part of a community that will answer any questions that you may have, as well as I provided free study guides, notes, and practice exams. And while you're at it, follow me on Instagram at EatRightGuy, and visit my website, eatrightguy.com, where I post weekly blogs on nutrition and dietetics related topics.